Welcome to the Advanced Design Public Touchpoint for the Atlantic Avenue Widening Project. The design map with additional details is available for review on the project website. The design consultant for the Atlantic Avenue project is AECOM. The project extends along Atlantic Avenue from Highwoods Boulevard to New Hope Church Road. The east side of the road is primarily residential with a few large office buildings at the south end. The west side of the road is a mix of commercial and industrial office space. Atlantic Avenue is currently an undivided road with 2 lanes of travel in each direction and a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. There is only one dedicated left turn lane at Comfort Court and a short 2-way turn lane at the Boy Scouts. A couple of hills along the corridor limit visibility for motorists turning on to or off Atlantic Avenue. There is an existing 5-foot wide sidewalk on the east side of the road, and some small sections of sidewalk were installed on the west side as part of a recent private development project. The purpose of the project is to improve the mobility and safety of all users along the corridor. The roadway improvements are being constructed to primarily address the large number of vehicle accidents along this portion of Atlantic Avenue. Based on projected growth, there is already sufficient capacity that additional lanes aren't being proposed. As with other roadway capital improvement projects, we will also be adding facilities for pedestrians and cyclists. Several challenges were identified along the project corridor that shape the design of our improvements. The homes along the east side of the project are close to the existing roadway and have limited space for additional improvements. A few of the commercial properties on the west side have parking lots close to the existing road, but overall, locating our improvements on the west side of the road will have a smaller impact spread over fewer property owners. As previously noted, there are a few steep hills that lower the driver visibility along the corridor. The most severe vertical curve is at the hill leading down to Ingram Drive and has been the location of a large percentage of accidents along the corridor. A 30-inch water transmission line runs down the middle of Atlantic Avenue and prevents us from lowering the hills on either side to improve visibility. In these areas of severe vertical curvature, the valleys will be raised as much as feasible to improve visibility. There are several locations along the west side of the corridor where previous developments have left steep side slopes back to the road. The changes to the road elevations to accommodate these steep slopes will require several of the underground utilities to be relocated. The typical roadway section is shown on this slide, and it is looking to the north. The narrow existing lanes will be widened to the standard 11-foot width. As the road is being raised slightly, the existing sidewalk, curb, and gutter on the east side will be replaced in approximately the same location as it is today. A grass median will be installed in the middle to accommodate left turn lanes at several locations along the corridor. A 10-foot wide multi-use path will be located on the west side to accommodate cyclists and pedestrians. There will be 3 signalized locations along the corridor that pedestrians and cyclists can use to cross Atlantic Avenue. These locations are at Highwoods Boulevard, Bramer Drive, and New Hope Church Road. This slide shows a cross-section view of the previous slide. The biggest change to the corridor will be the installation of a grassy median with left turn lanes. Due to drivers currently having to make left turns within a travel lane and other existing safety factors, rear-end collisions make up a large portion of the accidents along the corridor. A dedicated left turn lane will allow drivers to safely make left turns, and at a few locations, a U-turn. This will also allow through traffic to flow more freely and provide a safer corridor for vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists. The median will also restrict left turns onto Atlantic Avenue from many locations where it is currently allowed, and it is intended to reduce the number of broadside accidents caused by vehicles turning left across several travel lanes. We understand that restricting left turns where people have historically been able to make left turns can be upsetting to residents, and that travel times may increase for those living along the corridor. But several studies within the state and around the country show that large reductions in crashes and fatalities after installing a median. As can be seen in the data on this slide, the median will allow us to achieve one of the primary goals of increasing safety for all users on the road. Where feasible, U-turns will be allowed for those residents that need to access their own side road. The item that received the most public feedback from previous public touchpoints was the elimination of the left turn onto Atlantic Avenue from Ingram Drive. Residents will still be able to enter Ingram Drive from Atlantic Avenue, but will not be able to make a left turn to go south on Atlantic Avenue. As noted in previous slides, this intersection is at the bottom of one of the steep hills and has been the location of approximately 21% of all accidents along the corridor. Ingram Drive has approximately 1/8 the traffic as Highwoods Boulevard and 1/10 the traffic of New Hope Church Road, but has been the location of more accidents than either of these two higher traveled intersections. A large portion of these accidents are due to the limited visibility of drivers heading south over the hill on Atlantic Avenue and hitting vehicles making a left turn onto Ingram Drive. A traffic signal was evaluated at this location, but will have a similar visibility issues for cars waiting at the red light. We will be raising the intersection as much as possible to improve the visibility at this location for through traffic, but will be unable to raise it sufficiently to allow for traffic signal without impacting several homes along the east side. Based on previous feedback we received, we will be adding a left turn arrow at the signalized intersection of Brentwood Road and New Hope Church Road to accommodate residents that need to go south on Atlantic Avenue. We are aware of the existing issues of high-speed cut-through traffic along Brentwood Drive and are currently designing a separate traffic calming project that will deter people from heading south along Brentwood Road. In order to improve visibility and safety for the Atlantic Avenue and Ingram Drive intersection, we will be raising the road approximately 4 feet. As noted on a previous slide, we would need to raise the road approximately 8 additional feet to allow for a traffic signal. As part of this project, we will be installing 4 separate bioretention cells along the west side of the road. These cells will temporarily store stormwater and treat the runoff prior to it entering Marsh Creek. Sediment, nitrogen, and other contaminants will be removed by the media within the filter. These cells are designed to allow water from large storm events to run into the street and an underground storm system to prevent overloading the system. Water-tolerant grasses and plantings will be placed in the cells. The landscape design for Atlantic Avenue is planned for low maintenance and sustainability. Primarily, the design is focused on replacing trees and shrubs which were removed as a result of the widening. However, accent planting was also added to transit stops and to the bioretention basins to provide visual interest. The plant palette includes materials appropriate for the climate and conditions of Atlantic Avenue and include evergreens, flowering trees, and shade trees. Grass is used extensively within the medians to maintain clear views and for ease of maintenance. In addition to the previously mentioned roadway and multi-use path improvements, we will be installing a traffic signal at Bramer Drive. This will accommodate the increased traffic volume from Torchlight Academy, SiteLink, and Wake Med. The signal will also allow for another location for pedestrians and cyclists to cross the road. Transit service for Atlantic Avenue is proposed to begin in 2024. As part of our roadway improvement project, we will be installing concrete pads for future bus stops at 8 locations, 4 on each side, spread out evenly along the corridor. Due to the visibility concerns at Ingram Drive, the bus stop for Brentwood neighborhood needed to be located closer to Comfort Court. A pedestrian signal at this location has been recommended prior to the start of transit service to allow for residents to access the west side of Atlantic Avenue, but isn't being proposed at this time. Several sections of deteriorating sewer main were identified by our utilities department. As part of this project, those sewer mains will be replaced. The Atlantic Avenue roadway project was selected to receive public art exhibit. We are currently selecting an artist for the project and anticipate additional public outreach later this summer to review potential designs for the exhibit. We have held 2 previous public touch points to review earlier designs and have listened to your feedback. The feedback can generally be placed into 3 buckets as shown on this slide. One of the bigger concerns is that the multi-use path lacked connectivity to other trail systems. Ideally, the multi-use path would continue on past I-440 and connect to the Crabtree Creek Greenway. The Atlantic Avenue corridor is on the 10-year Bike Raleigh Master Plan to make this connection. We always try to look for ways to add multi-use capacity or implement portions of the pedestrian and bicycle master plans as effectively as possible to be able to provide future improvements. This does lead to a temporary gap in the system, but will reduce the cost of the bicycle and pedestrian project that typically operate with smaller budgets than our bond-funded roadway projects. Residents were also concerned that widening the road will increase speeds along the corridor. On a major roadway like Atlantic Avenue, reduced lane widths are not typically used to control speed as they are on smaller residential streets. There have been a large number of sideswipe accidents due to the substandard lane widths. There may be a slight increase in travel speeds to the widening of the lanes, but we anticipate that the sideswipe accidents will be reduced and the overall traffic flow will be improved. As previously discussed with this presentation and other public touchpoints, we understand the concern that residents have for the elimination of the left turn onto Atlantic Avenue from Ingram Drive. We hope that today's presentation has shown why we feel that this change is necessary and that the new left turn arrow at Brentwood and New Hope Church Road will reduce some of the travel time concerns. We are currently at the Advanced Design Public Touchpoint. We anticipate a slight delay to our processes due to the pandemic, but still anticipate having a real estate agent begin reaching out to property owners this summer to discuss easement acquisitions. Assuming no additional impacts to the schedule, we anticipate construction to start early next year and be completed in early 2023. Please keep an eye on the project website for most up-to-date information on the schedule. Thank you for your interest in the Atlantic Avenue Widening Project and viewing this presentation. We appreciate the feedback that has already been provided at previous public touchpoints and, where feasible, have modified the design to address your concerns. The project is currently undergoing review by permitting agencies, and our real estate agents will be reaching out to impacted properties this summer to begin negotiations for required easements. If you have questions on the design or impacts to your property, please contact the project manager at the phone number or email shown on this slide. We also still want your feedback. Please take a moment to take a brief survey at the link located below the presentation. Once again, thank you.